Now, talk to me about my technique. I move like a cat, do I not? I'm graceful, athletic.
You move like a turtle.
You're messing with the wrong man, Chan.
Okay, sorry.
Wow, I got him to back down. Absolutely nothing to back it up. Now, this clip, that was a great clip, and one of the things that I guess is borrowed from the title, Drunken Master, is it's a fighting style that you're using there that actually you look like you've been drinking.
Yeah, actually it's not. But you know, in Chinese martial art, we have lots different kind of style. Mm-hmm. We use a lot of animal style, like a dragon style.
Right. Or my turtle style.
There's no turtle style. Okay. We have all kinds of style except turtles.
Oh, okay.
Dragon style.
Right.
Snake.
Right.
Tiger.
Right.
Hawk. Eagle. And leopard. And drunken style is one of the style you looks like drink. You drunk, but actually it's not. You just like usually it's not like a karate, standing here. You're just standing here like this. You're floating. You watch, but the eyes out of the focus.
Right.
And when you fight with the shoulder and all kind of things, you can use all on your body.
I am from beyond. Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls. Prepare for Prattle.
Choose a side in the Clone Wars.
Welcome to Prattle World. I am your host, the ever-amazing, ever-spectacular Spider-Dan. And in this podcast, I spotlight entertainment's best-kept secrets that a mainstream audience may find boring. And welcome to Clone Wars, where two similar pieces of media clash to be crowned champion. Two go in, and only one comes out. And we're back in the world of the martial arts. And I have to bring back two titans of the podcasting community who have their own martial arts experience. One man who called himself Thundercock, and another man, the master of the snake fist. And yes, you know what I'm alluding to. We have Dave Horrocks and Chris Phelps of the VHS Strikes Back and many more, and the reality TV cast as well, to talk about Jackie Chan's big breakthrough roles in Snake and Eagle Shadow and Drunken Master. Welcome back, boys. It's a little bit different this time. We're not talking Jean-Claude Van Damme and how much Chris loves those calves of Jean-Claude. We're talking about Jackie and all of his wacky adventures. How are you guys doing?
Really well. Thanks for having us back on, Dan.
Yeah. No, it's good to be back. Good to be back. We've been promising this one for a while, haven't we? So it's good to finally do it, and something a bit different to last time.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed comparing Bloodsport and Kickboxer, which you guys had already covered on your show. But it was nice to have the comparison there of the two, and I don't think I'd seen Kickboxer, so it was interesting to have that comparison again. And these two films are very similar. And I'm just interested before we start. Again, this, like I said, this was a big kind of huge change for the paradigm of Jackie Chan's career. He'd been doing martial arts for some time before he got to this point where it kind of launched him as a martial arts star. What were your feelings or experiences with Jackie Chan in the past?
So I'll go first then. So I used to love these movies as a kid. So my mum was the eldest of five, so I had like four uncles who were, closer in age, and so looking at all the martial arts movies and stuff, there's other 70s movies we're going to be covering in a couple of weeks on the VHS as well, but this was my staple. I had no idea what was going on, but you you're a kid, aren't you? And stuff just appears on the TV, and you're sort of watching it. I was transfixed with the martial arts, and not much else really. I don't remember picking up on any story or anything, any particular acting performances. I wasn't picking up on that stuff then. But just this was my grounding. I remember watching, obviously the Bruce Lee movies were a staple, but not only that, the unbelievable amount of Bruce Lee knockoffs that you got. So Bruce Lee, we'd see in the video shop, Bruce Li. Oh yeah, let's get that one, or other variations on Bruce Lee that they could get. But one of those was also Jackie Chan, but he was so different because of the comedy, and I think this is where it all starts. So I think I watched these probably within the last 5 years, so it's not as if I've completely ignored them and didn't know what I was coming back into. They're not exactly how I remember them, if I'm honest. When I was a kid, it was like lightning quick and a lot better, if I'm honest, but I still absolutely love it. So yeah, very comfortable watching for me.
What about you, Chris?
Well, I'm going to be so predictable now, Dan. I do apologise, but the first time I saw Jackie Chan properly in a movie, it's got to be the Cannonball Run 1 and 2, and it was. I've got to get Burt Reynolds in there. If it's not Lauren Avedon, it's Burt Reynolds. But it genuinely was Cannonball Run, and sort of intrigued me to go like, who is this guy? Because obviously in that movie they classed as the Japanese racing team, which I believe like he absolutely hated because he wasn't Japanese, and then it played up to that cliche. But at this point, obviously, he was a star. He'd done this movie. I mean, I like the fact you picked these two movies as well, Dan, because it's the year I was born. So I've been only 36, unbelievable, 1978, but and change. But no, so I've never really watched a lot of his movies. And then as I got older, caught some of the other ones like, Police Story, things like that, but never done them. Like when we did it, I was like, I've never seen these. And then I think more than anything, and we've never done it, Dave, which I keep thinking about doing it, is Rush Hour. I love Jackie Chan in the Rush Hour movies. That's so good with Chris Tucker. But they've never gone back on the martial arts stuff as much as I love Bruce Lee. I always say it like the Van Dammes, the Lauren Avedons, who were completely influenced by these absolute legends like Jackie Chan, but never gone back and actually watched them. And maybe it's just my laziness and like struggling to pay attention to what's going on. Not that you really need to, because it's about how good the martial arts are. And when we've covered them on the VHS, I struggle sometimes to follow the subtitles. But I know exactly where he is. I've watched loads of like videos of him, how he treats his stunt crew. They're like family. They've all been together from the start. I mean, there's been a few stories come out about saying, oh, he's a bit of an arse and that. But I think maybe he just wants perfection, a bit like a Tom Cruise type thing. But I think he's got a kind heart, I think, anyway. But I've watched loads of videos on it when they got all this stunt crew together and that, and they're all banged up. But it's the fact that he does his stunts, like Scott Adkins has done, like, recently, and that he does a lot of his own stunts. Got a lot of respect for him. So yeah, he's an absolute legend. And I know he was always just below Bruce Lee in my tier of like martial artists. But as I've got older, I do respect the fact of how good he was and how he staged everything and the comedy element to what he brought to martial arts. And this is a great starting point for him, I think, as well.
Yeah, a great launch pad. I don't think I was that keen on him initially. I think I preferred, a bit like yourself, I think I preferred the more kind of serious martial artists, the Bruce Lees, the, like the Van Dammes, or, all the kind of guys that are like, oh, tough as nails, ooh, that kind of thing. And, the Lauren Avedons of the
I like that.
You can't see this, but there's me kind of posing, martial arts style posing,
tongue out and everything.
All that kind of stuff. And I think that was it. And I thought it was kind of cheesy and corny and a bit like for kids, the kind of physical comedy. But I think as I became like an actor and realized how much a tool your physical body is for storytelling and again like dance or expressing various ideas, I think I came to kind of respect him more and more and go back further and further into his kind of filmography and look at these kind of weird or obscure or strange ones that you may not have seen or may not be as popular or as well remembered or as available as some of his other ones. I love the Rush Hour films. Shanghai Noon and Nights are pretty good as well, and there's various kind of films that he does, and again a lot more kind of family friendly. He was very influenced by like silent movie film stars like Chaplin and Buster Keaton.
Yeah, you could definitely see that.
Definitely the Buster Keaton stuff with the stunts and like hanging off the clock tower. I'm sure Jackie's done at least once. And yeah, there's a lot of humor there. And I think Sammo Hung as well. He was in kind of the same kind of grouping, and he was doing a lot of kind of comedic versions of stuff, and that comedic tone or that playful tone, which was kind of making the rounds at the time as well. I think Sammo Hung, a lot of his jokes were just like, "I'm fat. I'm a fat Bruce Lee." I think I'm pretty sure he did a film called Enter the Fat Dragon. I think. I'm
Why have I
pretty
only
sure.
just heard of this, Dan?
Yeah.
Put it on the VHS
It's-
list. Put it on the VHS list right
What's
now.
going on?
But yeah, so over the years, I've come to appreciate him. I think again, like Chris was saying, I don't know, what he's like personally, but I appreciate his craft and his art and the work he puts into it and the sacrifices he's made to his body to entertain and to do what he does best. And yeah, again, I'm sure there's some more problematic stuff people could bring up about him in his personal life, but I appreciate him as a creator and as an artist that has kind of, in a way, brought East and West together in a way that maybe some other people wouldn't have, and successfully, and box office wise and critical wise as well. I think he's done a lot for Hong Kong cinema, China, and you name it. I think there's a lot there that he's brought. And the director of these two films, Yuen Ping, went on to choreograph Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, The Matrix, Black Mask, Unleashed, some of the Ip Man films as well. So he's no slouch either. And his dad plays the beggar So character, or the wise man, or the mentor in these two films, and he's no slouch in the martial arts world either. Like, he's pretty, and I was quite kind of surprised at how kind of lithe and how kind of incredible he was at the martial arts. Of course, they, when he's flipping out and jumping off buildings and stuff, they put a stuntman in. Nowadays, you'd replace it with some shitty CGI, I'm sure, but they disguise. I think his other sons played the stunt doubles for him, which I think was really, really cool. We talked enough about Jackie and Yuen Ping. So before we get started, guys, as you remember, I'm sure, from our Van Damme double bill, there are reasons for comparison before we compare these two films. So here is the list. Both films were directed by Yuen Ping. Both films practically launched Jackie Chan's career. Both films are practically the same cast and the same crew. Both films effectively have the same plot structure, characters and tropes. Both films were distributed by the Seasonal Film Corporation. What a name. Both films were released within the same year. Both films were edited for their international releases. Both films were box office successes in the East. And Jackie suffered injuries on both films, courtesy of Zhong Li Huang, who is the antagonist in both of these films. So, right, Dave, I know you're a master of synopses, so why don't you give us the synopsis? And we'll challenge Chris. We'll challenge Chris to do Drunken Master later, but give us the synopsis for Snake in Eagle's Shadow.
So, Chen Fu, an orphan adopted by a kung fu school, is overworked as their janitor, while being bullied and abused by the kung fu teachers as a walking punching bag. The school's cook, Ah Wu, is his only sympathizer. Chen befriends an old beggar by offering him a meal and a place to stay. Unknown to Chen, the old beggar is actually Pai Chang Tien. Sorry for the pronunciation. One of the last surviving masters of the snake style of Kung Fu.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That was great.
I'll look at the next one before we get into that one.
Oh, no. Chris is going to do that. I'm not going to make you do it twice. Chris is going to do it.
I'm ready.
I'm sure he'll just go. It's the exact same film again.
Yeah.
That'll be his synopsis, I'm sure. But yes, well, let's go over to Chris. Classic VHS style. What did you feel to the opening of this movie, Chris?
You know what's messed me up here, Dan? I've watched it in the wrong order. So I watched Drunken Master first and then went Snake. So because they put that absolute garbage snake in a fucking monkey's pants, whatever we covered on our podcast, which is absolute shit. Yeah, legendary shit.
Right.
It doesn't it doesn't offend me. And it feels very familiar. Not just because I'd watched Drunken Master first. I think genuinely, like, I can see with Jackie Chan, like, this is his launching pad, isn't it? And then reading stuff afterwards about, like, after I'd watched the movies, I'm not reading anything and spoiling it like I normally do, going the trivia route and all that. And the fact that they weren't sold on him, they tried him as like a, was it Fist of Fury 2 or something? And as
Yeah, something like that. The new
yeah,
Fist of Fury or something.
Fist of Fury, Fury, sorry. Yeah, and they were trying to make him like the next Bruce Lee and didn't really take to him. And then this, initially, they were like, what the hell is this? But then by Drunken Master, it just flipped on its head. So none of it feels alien watching it. I just love the dubbing. The dubbing is sensational because obviously they must have people who speak the native tongue of like what it's recording. It's Chinese and I presume that it's recorded in. It's the fact that they just go with it. And some of the dialogue, I'm thinking, are they just making this up on the fly here? Because it's so English in the way they deliver it, the slang, the tone, and it just makes no sense. But again, it's 78, it's 46 years old. And I think just having Jackie Chan, which I did notice as well, he's spelt with a Y in this movie. Obviously, it wasn't IE as it was later on. That's become his proper stage name. So no, I'm not offended, Dan. I'm not coming in going, this is fucking shit like I normally do. Because I think because it's got martial arts, but it's more the patheticness of this snake fighting style that I just can't wrap my head around. That, as Dave said to me when we were talking about the other day, we bought into this as kids and fought with nails. Imagine someone doing it on the street. You're going to get an Indiana Jones job, aren't you? Where someone's just going to end up like chilling you or like pulling something out and getting, doing all these moves. Let me get ready. Woo-hoo, it's like, no. So, but as a kid, I would have lapped this up, even though I wasn't really into a lot of the sort of Asian style martial arts movies, which is sacrilege, I know. But
yeah, I kind of get what you mean. I think I think we talked about it just before we recorded that people have this kind of reticence towards dubs because they sound stupid or they're weird or they are poor, and there are other occasions like I downloaded a version of Troll Hunter recently, which is like a Norwegian film, and the dubbing was fucking awful. It was genuinely fucking I couldn't watch it. It was that bad. It was just like the worst acting I've heard on a dub in my life. So, and I literally said, I need a refund, Apple. It was that bad, the dubbing. But I think I'm with you. I kind of, with the kind of stereotypicalness of it and the kind of the classic kind of martial arts films, I don't mind it. I think it adds to it on some level, but also I think you can, if you do go for the subs, you can find some enjoyment in a different way, or it can completely change the way the film is for you. You can get a different experience out of the same film. Like a lot of stuff is lost in translation, or there'll be details you'll miss because of that. But yeah, I'm with you. I think the dubbing certainly does help make it even more entertaining than it already is.
And I just love the fact that, kung fu movies, they're sort of like porn movies, aren't they? You don't watch them for the plot. You just get to the kung fu, and the plots are so thin on all of them, aren't they? And I love the fact that they're set in sometime in ancient China, and Chris had it up before, No Retreat, No Surrender 3 on his background there. But one of my absolute favourites is No Retreat, No Surrender. But when you stand back from it, it's about the mafia wanting to take over the dojos in Seattle. And it's like, in the modern 80s day, it just makes no sense at all. But I can believe that, in ancient China, that was really a thing, because if you controlled the schools, you controlled hand-to-hand combat, you'd have build up an army or whatever. So in this context, I can kind of believe it. And the way this starts off, it's a rivalry between the snake fist style and the eagle claw style. And you get this showdown, and the guy who ends up being the drunken master in the next one hasn't even changed his clothes, but he sort of gets his arse handed to him, and has to go off. But for no real reason, the eagle claw style must be seen to be the superior one, and that's it. That's the context. That's the layup, which is such utter nonsense, but I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, they're trying to exterminate all the teachers of the snake fist style. So they've taken one out, and they're looking. There's a group of shady, guys looking for this one last teacher of the snake fist style. And unbeknownst to them is this kind of drunken layabout, homeless kind of hermit character. What did you think to him catching all the mosquitoes, Chris? Very like Mr. Miyagi on
Mr.
crack.
Miyagi. Yeah, yeah. And then you know what then? And you said it before we recorded, there's influences all over. So maybe this was a slight bit of an influence for the Karate Kid, the whole Mr. Miyagi thing with the, the old chopsticks and that with Daniel. But no, the thing that gets me is with the old guy is like it's totally overplayed. And again, I know we're talking about, I'd say it again, but Dave was saying something before we started recording. He's like, they're so cliche. No matter what martial arts movie you watch, sort of like the Asian produced ones, the characters were all the same, weren't they? They were always like the old guy, but he's tough as nails. And then if you look at stuff like Kickboxer, same thing, Mr. Miyagi, the Asian, the Asian martial artist who's the mild-mannered, quiet person who doesn't use karate until they really need to, but then when they use it, they just basically want a killing machine. And I think like it plays into that, doesn't it? The drunken master, he's just sat there having his best life. I mean, let's be honest, how's he earning his money? How's he affording all this alcohol? Nobody can explain that. He looks like he's got the same clothes on that he's had on for years, but for some reason he just gets pissed everywhere and he's still got his senses about him. But that's what, when you go into one of these movies, you've just got to just go with the hammy like storylines. I mean, it's not at the levels of sort of, Wet Nurses 2 or some of the pornos that you get with there's some great storylines, but it's up there, with just ridiculousness. You've just got to go with every cliche possible. And to be fair, Dan, it works because that's what people come to see with these movies.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what they were sold on. They were sold on again the martial, and that you don't go. I will say you don't go 2 minutes without a fight scene in this. Like in either of these films, it's like 2 or 3 minutes plot, or some humor and stuff, and then it's like, right, another fight, another training sequence, another montage, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I love that opening fight he has with the chopsticks, and like he puts the chopstick up the guy's fucking nose and it's like and it's and he's got the rice bowl and he's like grabs it, puts it in his mouth, he breaks the bowl and he's like, oh, the teeth, all that sort of stuff. I thought that was so much fun, like just like wonderful to kind of watch. And yeah, and you can see where like martial arts I think is going as well. Like I think even then I think there's definitely something here. Like even if you like, oh, it's a bit dated, it's a bit old, there's kind of like the building blocks. You can see where we would eventually get to the Michelle Yeohs and and all the kind of stuff we would see maybe late 80s into the 90s in the Western cinema. I think there's it's I feel like it starts here almost around this kind of era, if not from these jumping off from these kind of films. And like you were saying, like I think that kind of classic trope you were talking about, Chris, of the old man who's like, oh, he's weak and he's old and he's infirm, and like Yoda, he's like, oh, I've got a little walking stick, but then all of a sudden, wah, I've got all this, I've got force powers and lightsabers and I'm flipping over Palpatine and all this. I think Jackie Chan does that, but it's like, I really don't want to fight you, but when you do fight, you're absolutely going to annihilate them. So it's like I really, I think that comes from that kind of that martial arts discipline where it's like you're not supposed to use it to win fights and show you're the strongest. It's self-defense. It's purely self-defense, which is why the kind of Jackie Chan does the humorous like, oh, I'm scared, don't hit me, and then all of a sudden you're spinning like ladders around and knocking them sideways. So yeah, I think there's some development and growth here that you'd see and moving on. And yeah, and the comedy is very broad, I will say.
Different, isn't it?
Yeah, it is different. It's a lot of the kind of comedy archetypes. Like you've got the emperor, who's I think the emperor or the mayor or whoever it is, going around with his son, and he's going around each and every school, and he's like, "You can teach my son. You should go here." And he's like, "Oh well," he's like a teenage kid. He's like, "I just want to see someone like punch through some bricks." And you've got the guy with the kind of like the kind of braces on and the spikes, and he's like, "I'll do it." And then he does it, and he's like, "Yeah, you broke through all the bricks," because he like puts an extra brick on, and then he breaks through it, and he's like, "Yeah, I did it." And then he goes away, and he's like, "Ow," and he's like dipping it in ice water and stuff, and he's coming out, and they shake his hand, and he's like, "Yeah," and they're like, "No, he's a weakling. I'm not going to this school." And he must change schools. That's the thing about this. They're all like swapping schools every 5 minutes, like that that's a thing. I'm just go to this school, go to this school, go to this school. But yeah, very, very odd way of kind of like dancing around while the main plot is basically Jackie Chan is this kind of orphan Aladdin type character who is, been adopted by this martial arts school. The real master has gone away and it's taken over by this like Weasley, like Jafar-esque kind of character. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna beat you up, and he basically is a punching bag for all the other martial artists and him to kind of show the moves and let people beat him up. Even that tiny guy is like kicking his ass.
Literally
Like,
tiny. He was almost off for your height only, wasn't he?
like Jackie's not tall, and he's tiny, that guy. But yeah, like and there's all those kind of those fight scenes and stuff. And yeah, it's bizarre that this kind of weird kind of I love that scene where he's cleaning the floor and the guy's like he's purposely making it dirty again and Jackie's got to clean it up and what have you. And then later on when he has mastered the snake style, he's like throwing like cloths under his feet and catching him and making him fall over and he's like doesn't know what's going on. He's so like kind of buzzed around and spun around. He's just like, ooh, and like knocks him out and stuff. It's great fun, great kind of like, again, what you would see in a lot of Jackie Chan's work in the future. Yeah, just wonderful, like kind of simple and effective, but again, very broad comedy. Like, there's like people being like, you dirty old bitch, and things like that. It's just like being sworn at, and like, you round-eyed devils. This Chinese woman's like screaming at this white guy, and you round-eyed devil. It's so bizarre. But yeah, but I think that's probably for the best because I think if you do want to make money abroad, outside of the Republic of China, you would have to make it fairly broad. The comedy, I think, comedy's one of the things I think is hard to kind of breach when I did a comedy show years ago, and I invited all my Polish co-workers. They came to see it, and they were like, yeah, it's good. And I'm like, you didn't find it funny though, did you? And they're like, no, we didn't find it funny at all. So they just didn't get the style of humor, the type of humor, so it makes sense that you would go very broad, very physical and very, big with that physical comedy to remind them of those kind of Chaplin and Buster Keaton films. It makes total sense to me, to market that film in that way. But then plus you get the kick-ass action as well and stuff. You were saying about the snake style, Chris. Is that not the style you would practice?
No, it's I don't know what. Well, I do like practicing snake, but not that style, Dan, as you know very well.
Oh my god!
Well, it's took a different
working the
turn.
snake.
Yeah, working the worm.
The trouser snake fist.
It's the worm in the snake's path or something like that. But yeah, I think with like the movie itself, like obviously I know we're going to talk about Drunken Master as well. Is that his character? The movie's pretty much the same, but Jackie Chan's character is more, I think, likable in this movie than he is in Drunken Master because he's a bit of an arsehole in Drunken Master. But in this, he is just like this downtrodden guy who's, like I say, he's got no family, he's been taken in, he's just glad to be somewhere to live, train, eat, everything, and he is a bit of a punching bag really for everyone else. He's sort of like seen as a bit of a joke, but then as the movie goes, obviously, and we learn about like the snake, the karate, and all that sort of thing, and he is competent as well. Because what I find bizarre in it, he takes a couple of beatings in this movie, especially, but I think it works with the master as well, having him sort of get with him. It's just the quirkiness of it, I think, and like seeing the start of like Jackie Chan's proper career. He was an extra in a few films. I think he was in like Enter the Dragon, wasn't he, in the background and stuff like that. Yeah, there was a few movies that he'd done sort of early 70s and that, and this is sort of put him on the map. But I think the comedy's okay in this, but in Drunken Master, we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think in Drunken Master, I think it works a bit better because the production's better, whereas this is really low budget. I think Drunken Master, I don't know what it is or whether it's just because it was a better copy I watched it in. It seems to be the production was a lot better and everything seems to be, and obviously this was, Drunken Master was done after this, so maybe the choreography was tightened up, especially like you were saying, the cast knew each other, they knew where they could work. The choreography is unbelievable. Like to put these fight scenes together with like probably one or two takes is so clever to get that together.
Yeah.
So I give it respect for that.
Yeah, I think the editing as well is quite strong as well, and yeah, you can clearly know when the stunt double comes in and does like a backflip or something like that. But again, like you would do that with like shitty CGI now, instead of hiring a person to do it. But even then, like even the basic stuff, I could never fucking do in my life. I could never do even it's not basics really. It's very good, and again the up and down, the jumping, and like I think there's a couple of moments where Jackie goes from like lying flat to like stood bolt upright or even higher in the air, like doing a flying kick or something. And it's just like it's insane, the physicality and the balance and the precision to do that is next level. Again, could the editing be a bit quicker, a bit sharper? But then also, if there's too much editing, it'll take away from the beautiful work that they're doing, the physical work. That you can ruin a martial arts film. I think Tony and Jack were talking about that with Working Man the other day in Statham. They were saying how bad the editing was, which took away from Statham's performance and his physicality and what he can do. It didn't spotlight it. I think quite easily you could over edit something like this and try and speed it up or try and make it a bit more like engaging, but then you would lose something of that classic art style of the martial arts.
I think they do spend a lot of time, or they did spend a lot of time on the action scenes. So again, they would redo those. So you talk about the physicality, but it's not just a one take wonder. He's done that again and again and again, and you're thinking, God, it must be absolutely shattered. But I know I've heard the likes of Scott Adkins, the likes of Cynthia Rothrock talking about going across to Hong Kong, and it's completely different from how you'd shoot a Western film, and they do really put the martial artists through the ringer, and so it just makes it so much more impressive. I think the thing that you definitely wouldn't see now is they make absolutely no effort to hide the fact that Jackie Chan is ripped. Like he's supposed to be this orphan, and he's cleaning the floor. And we saw the same in Snake in the Monkey's Shadow. You see the person who's supposed to have no skills, so he's watching the class, and you got everyone just going through the motions, and he's trying to learn it, and that's why the Weasley teacher, sort of beats him up in the first place. But you're looking, and he's shredded. They've even given him the wife beater top so you can see his arms and everything. So it's like, come on, just put a big coat on him or something, a big sackcloth, or just hide it a little bit. But
potato sack or something.
Yeah, they made absolutely no effort. So again, I know we often reference it, but no retreat, no surrender. A lot of the DNA comes from these movies and just transferred into an American setting. But there, with Kurt McKinney, they make a real effort to hide his physicality, that he's always got actually he does have a wife beater top on, but he does look like a kid through most of the movies. But actually, when you see him at the end, when he's up against Van Damme, you're like, well, he's a bit bigger than him, and he can really hold his own. So, yeah, I think that was just the thing that stood out for me, because especially when the Weasley teacher's beating him up, you're like,
I think,
yeah, I'm not
don't
buying
quite
that.
buy it. And I do think it's like, but he's in he's where he is there as long as he behaves, and because the main master's away.
Yeah.
That if he was to do or say anything, and again he's the lowest on the totem pole, I think they would just sack him off. But they need a punching bag. They need a literal and physical kind of punching bag. And he gets very emo when he's like dipping his head in water and looking sad, and he's got the trembling lip and so, oh, I'm so sad. It's like,
And the music as well, the overly dramatic music when he gets beaten up.
Yeah, it's just like yeah, it's sad, and he's like, but again, he's like this kind and loving and caring person, like Chris was saying, and that he goes and he, this Snake Fist master is hiding, and he goes and sits outside that the martial arts school where again the mayor's son kind of isn't interested and leaves, and they're like, you're a beggar, get away, and then they start fighting him, and they're like, and then Jackie sees that they're beaten up, and it's like Kick-Ass, that scene in Kick-Ass where he's going going, he goes and helps the guy.
Yeah.
And then I love when it happens in both films, but I love when somebody with more martial arts skills is basically placing and moving another person's body
Mm.
to fight back. We see that with Jackie and another character in Drunken Masturbate. Here we see it with there. So he's kicking the leg and it'll sweep the guy who's attacking Jackie's leg and stuff like that. I think that's wonderful. Again, physical comedy and physical work. And like he's moving the arms and making sure he blocks and does all this while trying to stay behind him and protecting himself. He's still kind of using those kind of martial arts tools through Jackie's body, and like puppeteering, I guess, is probably the best way to describe it. But yeah, I love those kind of moments in the film as well. Great fun.
I think as well, like just going back to what you said about physiques, and people like hiding it on camera. I think the one that always pisses me off more than anything is Rocky 3, because Stallone goes from looking good, and you'd all it's a lot like that, looking pretty good, to Rocky 3 where he was just roided up on about 4% body fat. And then for some reason, even at the start of the movie when he's having all them like ringer fights before he fights Clubber Lang, his body does not change. But then he goes with Apollo Creed and he goes from 202 pounds to 191 or 190 pounds, which is literally the limit for heavyweight. And you're like, you've not looked any different. You are literally shredded within an inch of your life.
Hey.
And we're supposed to believe that Apollo Creed has stripped all this weight off him and he doesn't look any different. So I think even the big movies get that wrong, I think. It's definitely, even Van Damme in Bloodsport, at the start when he's supposed to be the kid, Christian Bale, Bruce Wayne style, puts his hair forward and he's doing all the training with his master's son, and then he grows up and it's like, you look exactly the same as when you've done the training. You are ripped.
This is why I give it to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, because that scene where he's been had spider bite. And they filmed that months before he started his training, so he looks skinny and weak and weird.
Right.
So then when he wakes up, he's actually fucking hench, because it was filmed like 6 months or 5 months later when he absolutely fucking bulked up. So give it to Sam Raimi and Spider-Man to actually go, yeah, we need to show that he is this weakling.
I thought you were going to refer to emo Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3.
Not quite. Yeah, it just moves the hair and he's totally different. I'm totally a different guy. Just do my French. No, not quite. But I get the criticism. But yeah, I think you're right. I think we needed to see him build up to that. But I think at that point, Jackie is such a well-toned machine. They can't just go, I'll just get fat for 12 months and come back, and he'd lose so much money and time. But I get it. I absolutely get that kind of criticism. There is that moment where like the master comes back as well, which was his like main master. He's like, oh, my friend, what's happened to our school, because everyone's left, because the main master's had his, like the other schools had their main competitor return, beat their main competitor, the school, the kind of Weasley guy, and the other guy, his kind of assistant. He beats them both up at the same time, which another great fight scene. And then all the students are like, this school's shit, I'm going to learn at that one. And then they all leave, and then the master returns and he's like, where's everybody? And they're like, yeah, they all left. And then goes with Jackie. And again, like there's these, there's that kind of storyline, but then you've still got the Eagle Claw storyline going on, where again the beggar is still kind of running around and hiding and stuff, and you've got this random white guy who's like dressed as a priest going round, and and he's got this crucifix that he pulls a knife out of. Proper, like, it's so very comic booky. Like martial arts films are so like fucking comic booky, like the weird and like later on we've got a guy in a black hood, and you're like, what the fuck's going on here? This guy in this black you're like, all these other villains that we've been slowly kind of introduced to, and they're like just this random guy. And they don't kind of make anything of it. They're just like, there's a guy in a black hood. No idea why he's in a black hood. Only for the audience not to know who he is. Basically, that's the only reason he's in that black hood. And we never see it again. But yeah, we've got that storyline going on, and the master kind of decides to teach Jackie Chan, because he keeps getting beaten up, and that's when we see his skills develop and gets better. But he promises not to join in a fight. He says, don't help me in a fight, don't call me master because we're friends, and never show people your martial arts skills unless you have to. And I really don't think there was ever a point where he had to show his martial arts skills. Like, it was just like his master's getting beaten up, but I'm like, this is a secret kind of martial arts thing. But I was like, I don't know if there's enough. I think in this film also there was not enough of a kind of an impetus for him to use his martial arts skills until really right at the end.
I think the only point where he did what he was asked to do was when his master comes back and all the students have gone off to the other school, because you get that again, just nonsense kung fu trope where someone comes in and says, "Hey, I've just won the tournament," whatever he called it,
Yeah.
and everyone's congratulated me apart from you. And starts kicking ass. But then the teacher comes, but he's not as good either. But Jackie Chan's sort of waiting in the wings, and he doesn't want to use his kung fu. And I think the master says, not to show the kung fu because he'll give away the snake style, and give away or give up his anonymity. That's how I kind of read it. But yeah, I mean, like I say, the plot is as thin. It's a nanometer thin, really, isn't it? So there wasn't really that much in it. But the one bit I found weird is the old beggar sort of goes away for a bit, and he just sort of writes all over his walls, which I guess was okay in ancient China. But like, if someone did that, if you just invited someone into your house and then they just wrote a bunch of shit on the wall, you'd be like, "You bastard!" But yeah, he was fine about it, and then so that wasn't explained, but he kind of came back. But you're right. I mean, he ignores all the rules mostly, and gives away the old beggar's position in the end anyway. So yeah, he pretty much didn't do anything. But it's like, in that way, it's like Gremlins, isn't it? He just sort of ignores the rules, but we have to know the rules to know that he's breaking them.
Yeah, like, because he gets stabbed and by the guy, he gets kind of, I won't say double team then, but I'm sure Chris will. I'll excite Chris if I'm talking about stuff like that. But yeah, like, and he gets stabbed, and then Jackie finds him, goes into the woods, and that's where they start training and getting really good. And then he leaves. And then when he's trying to protect his old master or the school he used to work at, that's when he gets seen by the main villain, the eagle's claw guy, and then he like meets up with him and he's like, where's your master? And he's like, are you friends? And he's like, and he was saying like, don't tell anybody about me, it's a secret, don't tell anyone I've gone away. That's what he writes on the wall, don't let anybody know who I am. And he's like, oh, if you're old friends, I'll tell you. And he's just like, I'm just going to beat you up. And he kind of beats him up to like the nth degree, and is like, all right, see you then, bye.
Yeah, thanks for the
like,
lesson.
Clears off, because I guess he's hoping for the master to return and then he can kill him, which does happen. And then we get probably the most infamous scene in the film, which has been cut, is the snake, the cobra versus the cat, which is, I don't know why, but this year I seem to have stumbled upon lots of animal cruelty in all the stuff I've covered. I'm not purposely choosing these films for that. I didn't even know about this one until I watched it. I was like, oh, fucking hell. Yeah, it's a real cat versus a real cobra. The cat wins, luckily, just so you know. But yeah, it is cut out as certain versions of it. But the version I watched did have it. So be prepared if you are going to watch this. You are going to see that. And then Jackie starts kind of, because he gets given a book about his style of the snake fist style, but the cat destroys it. I thought it was the guy. I thought it would have made more sense if the guy had destroyed it, like he destroyed so he couldn't learn any more skills of the snake fist. But he was like, oh no, the cat did it. I was like, okay, but then he was like, oh, the cat, and he's like, and then he is at such a level now he can actually incorporate cat's claws into his snake fist, because he lost because the guy who knows the eagle style knows the snake fist and fought many people who mastered it, so that's why they all lost. But he's now incorporating the cat's claw into it to make it into something else, a combined style. I have to laugh every time they play the cat noise, when he's using the cat style. It's like, and he's leaping in the air and he's got his little claws out. It's kind of quite cute and quite sweet in a way. And he's like, meow. And I was like, this title of this film doesn't make sense, because they use it right at the end. They go, oh, I don't like the cat claw name. Let's give it a new name. Oh, we'll call it Snake and Eagle Shadow. And I guess I kind of know what it's saying. It's kind of like the talon of the eagle, like the other style, is kind of similar. But I was like, I think there's a better name in there somewhere. Like,
I think it was one of those where they started with the name and they were like, yeah, that sounds kick-ass. That sounds good, that. And then they came up with the story after and kind of retrofit it, because I thought the obvious thing was to say it's some kind of blend of the snake style and tiger style. You know, a
Yeah,
cat
sure.
is closer to a tiger than it is an eagle. So I thought,
Sure.
so when they were going through the names, I'm like, oh, they're going to say tiger something at the minute, forgetting the movie's called Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. But yeah, it didn't sort of ring true for me. But
Mm.
I don't know how many cats they actually used, but there was one. You know, it's one of those where the editing, you know, it's clearly it gets very jumpy with the cat and the snake. And there's one particular bit where the snake is just coiled around the cat, and I'm like, not sure the cat's coming out of that one. So I don't know if they just used one cat or they had a stunt cat or what have you. But
I think
Stunt cat.
Stunt cat.
Hell, Dave.
Got
brought in a
stunt
new
cat.
ginger cat, you know.
Well, I was going to mention this because there is a shot where there's two cobras in the same shot at one point,
missed
which
that.
I was like, is that a stand-in cobra? I know that they
Stunt
apparently
cobra.
the bat. Yes, stunt cobra, stunt cat. We don't want the first cat to get too hurt, so we'll use the other cat. But there was I read somewhere that the cat was bound because otherwise the cat would just run away. It would just run away from the cobra. It wouldn't
God,
make sense for it to
it's worse.
stay in fat. So I'm guessing that maybe that point the cobra was maybe a disguised rope or something that was holding the cat there. But yeah, it's not a nice scene to watch. I'll be honest, but it is there.
I think.
It's
I mean,
it's
I'm not a
uncomfortable.
massive fan of watching animal cruelty, but I think that there is something, and I think it's just some nostalgia means I just give it a pass because it's such a trope. Again, snake in the monkey's shadow. It's exactly the same thing. It was basically looking at, I think it was a mongoose in that, defeating a cobra. And then just watching this means somehow it goes through some kind of translation machine and you become an expert kung fu martial artist from watching these two animals fight each other. So I guess, a lot of these things came from, I think they called it drunk boxing or something like that. And
Yes,
they have all
correct,
these
yeah.
animal kind of styles, There was it this one or Drunken Master where, they do the crane style as well. You see that. And so they do have a lot of these animal forms, and I think I just see this as just a trope that you've almost got to have in there, where he's just watching and you see the cat's claw, and then Jackie Chan's looking at his, and he's like, "Oh, mate, I can make a claw as well." And it really lays it on thick.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get the name because the claw that he's influenced by the eagle style, which is kind of like this talon claw like style. So I get the kind of title if it's Snake in Eagle's Shadow because the snake is influenced by the eagle, and that's the style. But it kind of because he calls it a cat, then I was like, and he's influenced by the cat. It's kind of like you should just call it something else. But yeah, very, very, very interesting film. Is there anything else you wanted to mention, Chris, before we move on to the next one? Oh, you're on mute, Chris.
It's almost 2021 there, isn't it? The old, COVID. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Meeting somewhere.
Mandatory,
What a
isn't it?
dick.
Just take yourself
What a
off
knobhead.
mute. There's a
sorry,
button
what's
at the
that?
bottom.
You're saying, what's that hand gesture you're doing? Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Sorry. No, what I would say is one thing I did like at the fight scene at the end, though, is when he's fighting the master and he's doing the cat bit, is when the guy goes, "So what are you doing?" Well, as you said, that he's making cat noises. So it's a bit of a giveaway. He's fucking trying to be a cat, you dick. He scratched your face as well. He's still not a cat. So that was a bit of a classic line, like stating the bleeding obvious, as Del Boy would say. So, but I will say that I think the style of the whole movie, it sort of fits with it at the end. He couldn't overcome anybody. And I think for me, when you talk about like not being able to use his martial arts, my favourite ever martial arts movie for not being able to use it is The Big Boss. Until Bruce Lee will not use it until the chain gets kicked and his cousins are getting their asses kicked, and then he just goes absolutely fucking nuclear, doesn't he? And I love that. And they're all like, "Why didn't you help us before?" And he's like, "Oh, I took a vow, and all this." But That was like the proper jeopardy of like you waited half an hour and Bruce Lee did nothing, and I was like, what is going on? They're getting beat up, he's standing his ground, and then all of a sudden he just went full on Bruce Lee. I'll have to watch that. I've not watched that for years, but that was one of my favorite ever martial arts scenes. That when they're fighting in that, it's like a factory in it or whatever it is, or like a delivery bay or something, and then there's the story in the Bruce Lee story where it's supposed to be a real fight against that guy, wasn't it? And his brother comes and all this. That's supposed to be like part of that movie. So yeah, the lore of it all. Whereas this doesn't really hit like that, but I get the pretense of it because he is pretty much fighting all the way through the movie, even though he's not supposed to be unleashing his full fury of the pussy.
Yeah, the snake and the pussy style. So the thing I'd say before we move on to Drunken Master is one of the best death scenes is absolutely in this one. So we get the round-eyed devil earlier in the movie, so the preacher, and it turns out he's not actually a preacher. He's from Russia, which is a bit random, but I was thinking, well, I guess they're connected by landmass, so maybe that made the most sense for the time it's set. But yeah, it just gets a strike to the balls, and that is what kills him off.
Yep.
Amazing.
Tiny little snake bite.
Yeah.
Just right on the old knackers. Yeah. I've definitely seen that before. Like his face where he's like, "Ah!"
Yeah, brilliant acting.
And he's dying. I've seen that on like
Method.
YouTube or somewhere. I forgot to mention our hooded figure turns out to be Jackie Chan's only friend, the cook, who's like, haha, he defeats the guy with the combined cat style and the snake style because he goes, and it's always both films. I think it feels like it's in the same quarry or something. The final fight. So he goes to kill the master, and then he turns up and again does the combined style, beats him, and even kicks out in for real. Like kicked out one of Jackie Chan's teeth, and in the dub it says, "I will have your teeth," and he fucking does. He kicks it, fucking this like massive gap in his face, like where his teeth was. And then they're like, "Ha ha! I poison your tea. Both of you will now be affected." And they're like, "Ha ha ha! You don't know. We like cold tea, so we poured out your hot tea and had cold tea instead." And he's like, "Oh!" It's again very like Yoda. He like jumps on his back, and they both like attack him and kill him. And then they're like, "All right, we'll name this new style." And that's when the film ends, and we move on. But yeah, very very big mishmash of ideas.
Such a random, unnecessary bit of the movie, wasn't it? To have that weird subplot where, he's trying to poison them, and then just by chance they, not through any particular cunning, they just don't like hot tea, so they avoided being poisoned. I did find that weird. I'd forgotten about that bit.
Yeah, they kind of like they laugh like they've outsmarted him, but they were just like, "Oh, we just like cold tea."
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Great, good. Yes, moving on though, Chris. Let's hear your synopsis. This is the one you've been looking forward to, I can tell.
Yeah, I'm ready for this.
Let's hear your
Here we go.
synopsis for Drunken Master.
Just warming up. Right, here we go. So, Wong Fei Hung is a proper cocky little shit. Always scrapping, winding folk up, thinks he's Bruce Lee. His dad's had enough, so he ships him off to train with this mad old fella called Beggar. So, now this bloke ain't your normal kung fu master. Nah, he's half cut most of the time, teaching a style called drunken boxing. He looks daft, but I'll knock your teeth out if you're not careful. Anyway, Wong's getting levered in training, getting battered every day, but it sorts him out proper. Then some proper nasty piece of work comes gunning for him and his family. Dave, don't say anything. So Wong's got to step up, down a pint or 10, show everyone that being off your nut might actually be the best defence. It's kung fu with a hangover, and it's class. I can't say I wrote that, but there you go.
Yeah.
You have a little help there, did you? You have a little help.
A little help in a Mancunian style, I believe. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, Dave, what did you feel to this one? What are your thoughts on this one?
So, like Chris, I watched Drunken Master first. I in my memory, I remembered this one more, but I was disappointed with how much of a dick Jackie Chan's character was.
Yes.
I'd just forgotten about that, and he is not likable at all. And again, it's good that there are so many similarities with this and Snake in the Eagle's Shadow that I was kind of glad there was something that contrast with his previous character. He wasn't just exactly the same, some downtrodden orphan. But yeah, I didn't really like him either. Yeah, and I guess you're rooting for him because he's the protagonist. But so's Chucky in the later Child's Play movies as well. It doesn't mean he's a good person. But the bit that I did like, I think when it ramps up a notch for me, and I did really enjoy this movie, is when he fights the mother, and then he goes back, and then he's trying to do the physical comedy, the very obvious. To me, it's like, I want to use the word juvenile and childlike almost, but it is. And he's trying to just, hide his face and whatever, and then because he's been an arsehole, his dad's that's it, he's out. And again, it's just all so over the top and ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah, go on, Chris. Go on.
Well, to be honest, obviously, the scene when he's sort of doing his katas and he's doing his training and everything, he's got the proper Bruce Lee stance about him. He's got the proper. You can see there's definitely influence there. The whole outfit is like what Bruce Lee wore in a lot of his movies. So I get that. But you're right. When he takes out his aunt, well, he tries it on with his own cousin, so we've got a bit of incest in there. His auntie then kicks the shit out of him, which he's good. But Dave's right. He is not a likable character. He's a cocky little shit all the way through it. And I don't know whether obviously, I think when he was 23 or something when he filmed this, but I don't know whether they're trying to portray him as some like teenager. But like, even he's only at the end of the movie, really. And I know I'm jumping a bit. Where you're sort of like, yeah, I think he's learning, he's growing up because he's a complete dick. I mean, when they say to him after he's like gone back to the dojo and his dad just disowns him straight away. Like, he's like, oh, that's it. You know, I want to kill you. I don't want to speak to you again, my son. But then for some reason, the aunt who's just levered him wants to redeem him. It's like, oh, you can't do that to him. It's when they all come in because he's beat up them people in like the market. And he comes in on the gurney, the guy's there, and he's like the influential son or whatever he is. And he's like, we'll give you 10 shots. Well, he don't get 10 shots on him, really. He gets about 3 because Jackie Chan's just fighting back and beating him up pretty much. It's only towards the end he gets a couple of lashes. So I didn't understand that dialogue. Now, whether that's, like you said before, Dan, whether it's like the way it's dubbed and they're just freestyling, I don't know. But normally they do have people who can interpret what's going on. They're interpreters. So there's bits in this that are completely out there, and he isn't really a redeeming character, Jackie Chan. However, I think I really enjoyed this because I think that the choreography is so much better in this movie, as I said before, the snake one, that you can see they've tightened up, and maybe it's because everyone knows each other, but like they are dancing, they're pissing about. But I think Jackie Chan's athleticism, that's what I love about it. Like you said before about him being on the floor, and the next minute he's stood in the air and he's doing the backflips, he's kipping up, it's just everything about it. It's so cleverly done, and you can see this is like, all the movies that come after this, Jackie Chan did, they've got that comedy element. Even though they're supposed to be serious movies, none of it. They've all got that silliness. Like the bit when the guy's trying to get him with the knife and he's got the 2 bananas and it's like knocking the bananas down and all this. And there's a few bits like that in this movie where it plays on it. I just think everything together's better. I think it looks better. I don't know. Even though they said it wasn't really critical success, the Eagles bollocks or whatever we've just talked about, this one is definitely a better movie all round, and one that I actually really enjoyed.
Yeah, I think there's elements that I like about both in different ways. I do think I think the Drunken style is more interesting, like playing with the balance and the center of gravity and everything, and I think there's more comedy that comes from the idea of them actually being drunk and the silly shit that they get up to, and being a drunken dickhead and stuff. There is more kind of opportunity for comedy. I do think it gives, even though he is a less likable character, I think it does give Jackie Chan a bit more to chew on as an actor. The previous one I think is fine. He's very good in it, and there's fun to be had. But I feel like playing this kind of arsehole character is kind of almost like feels more natural for him. Like there's so over the top. Like he asks his dad to hold his jacket, and then his dad looks at him and he's like, ooh, runs away and like, ooh, and when he sees his auntie and he recognizes he's like hiding and like, ooh, pulling all this sort of stuff, or like when he's punished, he has to like hold all the boiling pots of tea on his head, and he's got like iron on his wrists, and he's got a spike under his arse that if he falls over, it's going to go right up his arse, and there's a lot of those kind of elements I like, and yeah, I think even the beggar character, the kind of mentor, has kind of, I don't know, because he's a bit more of an arsehole as well. So there's kind of like a battle of the arseholes, and they kind of in a way, in a sense, they kind
I've
of.
sort of seen that movie, but
Yeah, but I will say the ending does feel a bit sudden. Like I feel like with Snake and Eagle's Shadow, there's a gradual kind of movement towards the end. But then with this, I feel like they had so much fun doing the training and the sequences with that. They seem to stretch out, and then right at the end, they're like, "Oh shit, he's got to fight somebody quick! Fucking get in that quarry again, shit! Let's have this fight now, quick! Like get it filmed, because it kind of is just like, oh, your dad's been assassinated, go run, catch him, And I think Thunderleg as well. I think he might be a bit more of an interesting villain as well. I think, again, played by the same actor, but
Yeah.
I think we get a bit more time with him, and he's more of a mercenary, and we have more opportunity to dislike him. And again, he is an assassin, like he's a murderer, and he's going to kill his dad. So I think that's where I feel like there's a bit more impetus for him to be good at the fighting and to actually play a role in that, that storyline, as opposed to like, even though the Beggar So character is going to be assassinated as well, I don't know, didn't feel quite as like it made as much sense going there. But again, the trajectory felt smoother in Snake and Eagle Shadow. I don't know what you guys feel about that.
I think for me, I do think the choreography is a little bit of a step up, and I think maybe Jackie Chan had because of the success of the Snake and the Eagle's Shadow as his breakout role, leaning more into the comedy. So people saw him, I think, after that, not as a Bruce Lee clone, but as something a little bit different. So I think they maybe gave him a little bit more to do in terms of like you say, the acting. But what I like is, and I like to imagine, what ancient China was really like, and you think this kind of drunken style, you just come across these people out and about, and in order to appear like defenseless and stuff, just appear drunk. And then, if they are trying to beat you up or rob you or something, then you just spring into action, and they do this whole drunken style thing. But these guys actually do just want to get shit-faced as well. So it was almost at times, it was like giving Popeye spinach. No, you have to drink more.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, so I did enjoy that aspect. But definitely the fight choreography was a step up in this one.
Yeah, I think they really enjoy the kind of, the props and stuff in regards to the training, the mentoring, and it does feel like Luke and Yoda or Mr. Miyagi, and the kind of unconventional training and the unconventional master and wise man. We see a lot of that, I think, here, and like Jackie almost kills the master, almost drowns him just to get away, because he's like, oh, and that's his dad's punishment. His dad's punishment is like, you're going to meet this guy, and he's gonna train you, and then he hears rumors about him being really tough and like beating people black and blue, and they're just, and the hair falls out, teeth fall out, and he's like, oh, I don't want that to happen to me. Runs away, and then he just bumps into him anyway, and then just absolutely just obliterates him, and it's like, oh. It's such a Weasley character. I think one of my favorite scenes for me is the restaurant scene where he again, he attempts to run away. He goes to a restaurant, sees a guy eating, and he's like, "Oh yeah, good to meet you. Oh yeah, let's order some food in. You're a great guy. Yeah, like, have a drink." And then he's like, "Oh, have some of my food. I'll have some of yours. You have some of mine. You have some of this." And then eventually, he eats everything and then tries to leave. And they're like,
got no money.
Like, hey you haven't paid. And then he's like, "Oh well, I'm not paying. That my friend over there is paying." He's like, "He's not paying. He's my dad, and he owns this restaurant. So you better stay, or we're going to beat you you up. And then this Bolo Young looking guy comes
was a
out
big
of
fella,
nowhere,
wasn't
called Gorilla, I think he was. He was like, I'm the gorilla and I'll show you. And then they have this amazing kind of like just set of fight scenes in this restaurant, and it's brilliant. And all these people are just like, what the fuck is going on? It's one of my favorites. The one I remembered most when I first watched it, and when it came up, I was like, oh, I remember this being absolutely amazing, this particular sequence. And it was, unsurprisingly. But again, I agree. I think most of the fight sequences seem to be just a little sharper, a little, I don't know, a little more polished maybe than the previous film.
Mm. And there's a film that came out a few years after this that I'm going to inflict on Chris at some point called The Prodigal Son. And I think it probably took a lot of inspiration from this because that really leans into the fact the guy is a total dick at the start. But he does go through some growth, and so he becomes a better person. Whereas here, I mean, a bit of a criticism, I'd say, just Jackie Chan gets his arse handed to him, by the main antagonist, and that's it. That's his moment, and then that's when he wants to go back and be retrained, and we get the montage, don't we? That we've seen repeated over and over for so many times over the years, but it wasn't really like enough for character growth for me. I think I'm looking for a little bit more. But you got the dramatic music, to tell us about how upset he is at getting beaten up. But I'd have to think he's been beaten up a few times before. This isn't going to be the only time in his adult life.
No, absolutely not. What about you, Chris? What are your feelings?
Well, I think, yeah, the food scene when he's belly, and then like you said before, Dave, I know he's not really prevalent in this one, but making him look like he's not in shape, and then he pulls his stomach in to show an absolute unbelievable six pack, and then in the other one we had a bit of a rocky training montage, but he gets beat up by the guy from the start, doesn't he? And he's having a couple of flashbacks, and then this is like, I think it's about an hour into the movie. This is when he becomes less of an arsehole, but he's more. He wants to sort of triumph, so we're getting a bit of determination, but he's still got the devious side of him. And I think, like you say, David, there's no need for him to be a Bruce Lee clone and try and sort of take that mantle. This is when he's coming into his own, and this movie made him an absolute worldwide phenomenon, didn't it? After this, like they got what he was about. He could mix it with the best of them when it comes to martial arts, but I just think his comedy timing is so good, and using his body. Like you said about Buster Keaton, Dan, before, one of the most unbelievable stuntmen. You watch them videos of him like hanging from the clock towers, you say New York or whatever, and there's no CGI, there's no ropes or anything, and he's doing all them, them like stunts and that. So I think I've got so much respect for him, and I'm going to reference him again. I don't know if I've got him in there, but I'm going to get Burt Reynolds in there. He loves a gag, as the stuntmen call it. We covered Hooper. Burt Reynolds was someone who wanted to be a stuntman, someone who actually, they're doing the new Brad Pitt one, aren't they? Which his character out of, what's it called? The bloody one with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, yeah. And the character is Hal Needham, and it's based in 1977. They started shooting it now, so I'm interested. Are they going to have a Burt Reynolds type character in because they live with him?
Well, I was gonna mention this because in Jackie Chan films, like he tends to have a kind of gag reel at the end. Do you think
Yes.
he stole that from Burt in his films?
He did, yeah. Cannonball Run. 100%. He saw it in the Cannonball Run, and then he started bringing it into his movie. And the only reason I know that, Dan, I've seen it a few times, but I actually watched something the other day about the Cannonball Run, and that come up going, Jackie Chan, 10 facts about the Cannonball Run. It's like, do I not know enough about this movie? And it actually was Jackie Chan stole it for his movie. I'm sure it wasn't just Jackie Chan. A lot of it was gag reel, but then them gag reels are just amazing. So yeah, definitely works, especially when you watch like some of his other movies where like he's broke his leg or he's cracked ribs or something, and they're all laughing, and he's on the floor like, oh, but put it in the gag reel. You're like, wow,
Police Story 3 is fucking wild. The end of the gag reel on that. I saw that at the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival. Like when Michelle Yeoh fucking like comes off that car, like she literally they get hit by another car and she falls out of the other car onto the road, and you think, fucking hell, she's dead. And then they're dicking about on with a helicopter in the train, and you think, fucking hell. It's like not. It gets to a point where it's not even funny. It's like, fuck me, I don't think you'll make it out of this, but. They did. They survived. So, but yeah,
I
it's
need to watch
yeah.
that one. Police Story 1 gag
I don't
reels
think
were bad enough, where they get
Mm.
him falling
Goes
out
down
the
the pole.
bus, but the pole.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
yeah.
so good they had to show us about 5 times in the film.
Mm.
But you get to see it after, and he's wheeled out. I think that's what you're saying about Chris with the ribs being broken stuff. You can see he's in absolute agony, but he's probably like, "Did we get that shot?" you know. So the amount he puts himself through is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Well, his eye almost popped out in this one when the antagonist again, Thunderleg, kicked him in the head. His eye almost like came out of his skull.
Right.
And then he was like, I'm fine. I think he put it back in. And then the actor was like, I'm not doing that again. If his eye almost came out, we're not doing that. So like, he's still he's still up for being fucking kicked in the head until his eyeballs pop out of his literal skull like a Looney Tunes character. So it's fair play to him. But yeah, they kept going. They kept going. Yeah,
Oh,
Go
sorry. I
on,
was
sorry.
just going to say, I do like old Thunderleg. The way, I mean, I don't know if these were shot back to back, and he's got a different wig on or something. But I love his kind of, it's almost like Charles Bronson look. He's just got that iconic, badass 70s look. So I think that was a step up in this one as well.
Yeah, yeah. There's something. I mean, I think I prefer the look in the previous film, but I just the character just isn't there for me. Like, and again, both films we start with the antagonist taking on somebody else and killing them. I think this it was his guy. His name was, what was his name? Johnny something or anything. He's like, yes, I'm Johnny this and I'm Johnny that. And he's like, I've been hired to kill you. And he's like, well, I'll pay you just as much to kill them. And he's like, no, I'm too honourable for that. So now you must die. Well, I'm going to show you. And it's kind of the same scene again in the previous film. But yeah, and that bit where he literally goes to, like, Jackie's like sat on the box where he gets his kind of mercenary missions from, and he's like, just piss off, and he's like, no, I'm drying my pants, I'm all wet, and all this and muddy and what have you. And then that's when they start having a fight. But it's an absolute joke of a fight because even though Jackie knows some stuff, he's like, who teaches you this? This is shit. Because he's using his dad's style, and he gets offended because he's like, that's my dad's style. How dare you say it's shit? And he's like, you're a shithead. All this sort of weird insults, somehow lost in translation. And then he goes back, and that's when he takes the training seriously. He's like, oh, I didn't drown you, did I? Oh, great. Let's go. But even later, like when he's still his like Bezzy mate, and you meet this guy. I can't believe I mentioned him already. But the Iron Skull guy, the Bullet Head or whatever his name is,
Yeah.
and he's just like there's like a gambling game. It's like it's the cup game where they put something under the cup and they move it about, and they end up winning because the old master's really good. He's got a good eye for it, and even when they cheat, they catch him. And then they start fighting, and Jackie's like hitting this guy in the head, and he's just got this fucking thick skull. Yeah, he just can't beat him. And then I think he gets like a pan or something, like a frying pan, and starts fucking wailing on him. And he's got the worst fucking bumps on a skull
Yeah.
ever fucking seen. They're like mushrooms. It's fucking hilarious. It's just so fucking stupid, but I loved it. I absolutely loved that scene as well. So weird.
It was.
Yeah,
It looked like they just glued it on, didn't they? They just
Yeah,
got 5 minutes. Right, go on, stick him on.
yeah.
Right, let's go. Shoot that.
Yeah, like they're like giant nipples almost. It was just fucking weird. It turns up later with that guy with the pole turns up, and that's when Jackie's still being a bit of a dickhead because he says, "Go and get me some wine." And he doesn't realize at this point that he's the drunken master, the old guy. So he puts water. He drinks the wine himself. He puts water in it and goes back and does it himself. But then this guy with the bow staff attacks, and they're like, and he's literally got the DTs, hasn't he? He's shaking. He's got
yeah.
withdrawal from the alcohol, and they're like, oh, he can't really fight. He's trying his best, and then he throws him the thing, and he's like, this is water. What you've done to me? And then they lose, and they end up like he has this kind of like Batman style trap in the door when Jackie was trying to escape earlier, and they use that and they escape. But then Jackie comes back later and then kicks his ass as well. The guy with the pole, because he's like, now I know, doing all the kind of drunken stuff. stuff. But yeah, he never really. I would never say he redeems himself, the character in this. I'd never say he's fully changed by the end. And but at the end of and he's like, this is the thing as well. Like the reason for like the beggar character going away in both seems kind of weird. He just kind of disappears in one, and then the other one is like, and that's why I thought in the first one, like, never protect me in a fight. And then he does break the rule later on. But I thought the guy might die because he's observing the master's rules in the first film. But in this, he's like, the year's up. I've trained you. Bye. And then pisses off. And then right at the last minute, he just runs in and says, yeah, beat him up. And that's it. He's just like, yeah, beat him up. He's going to kill your dad. Beat him up. Which is just, again, very random. And it feels like a bit forced. And it's not quite as, a natural end to the film. But again, no less entertaining. But Chris, I want to know about all these 7 drunken styles that this character has. He's got like a fat guy with a barrel. He's got like all these different characters, and then there's one that he doesn't want to use. There's one he doesn't want to be, which is a drunken lady. He's like, I'm not going to practice this style because I'm a man, and he's very macho about it. It's like, we're not going to practice this one. All the other stuff I practiced, I want to practice this one. And then they go. It's very much like a Dragon Ball Z thing, where it's like, I'm going to say all my moves as I do them. Yes, this is this style and this style and this style. And so he goes through all of them, and he gets to the woman, and then he goes like, because none of them, all the styles have worked, and he's like, oh, I didn't practice this one. He's like, what? What did you think to this particular style?
I did rewind this bit because I was like, yeah, I'm going to trip over myself here. But it was completely out of character for the movie, even though it was utterly ridiculous. And he did, I mean, to be fair, he got beat up by his auntie at the start of the movie, so he should have been brave. Maybe we should have had a flashback of his auntie kicking his ass, and then he went, actually. But yes, his style was very on his toes, very athletic, very Wayne Sleep, some would say.
Very dancing, very.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, what about you, Dave? What did you think towards the end of all these different styles we see?
Honestly, when he puts he puts one kind of wrist onto his hip and the other in the air.
Suits you, that Dave.
I saw that, and I didn't remember this when I watched it last time, and I just thought, oh my God, I wish I could be there, sat with Chris when he's watching it right now.
Yeah.
I did not expect it. It did seem strange, and even though, we've had some silliness in the movie, I thought that was like a different level, and
yeah.
I
know what you mean. I can see what you mean. Yeah, like I guess it's kind of because the idea of the drunken style is to be unexpected. I guess to be surprising, and again, it's the same kind of with the snake style a little bit, but not so much. In here, it's like, oh, he's drunk, so he won't be a problem. He won't be trouble. And I guess them going from being a drunk guy to being pretending to be a woman is like, oh, this is even weirder than I thought. Or very, it's odd. It's an odd thing to go from that, like, I'm a big drunk, I'm a fat guy with a big barrel, to this kind of style as well. So yeah, it's unconventional, I think is the best way to put it. But it kind of helped him because he drinks a bit more. The kind of Popeye energy comes back. And then he kind of combines all the styles together to defeat Thunderleg in the end. And yeah, and Thunderleg's, I'm not even going to use my arms. And I was like, you call it Thunderleg, so clearly that's your strongest weapon. So I don't know why he's like, I'm not going to use my hands. I do feel like this fight is longer as well. It feels like there's more progression and there's more like back and forth. Like one gets to the advantage, the other one loses the advantage. And I don't know what, there was a weird kind of move that Thunderleg had, which was just like the dance move from Showgirls or something. It was just like
what a film.
just shaking his hands in front of him, and his eyes are just going a bit weird. And he's like, oh, and I guess because he's drunk, it's already a bit much. So I guess that was his kind of advantage. But I was like, that's an interesting move to pull out at this point. But yeah, cracking film.
I think you see it as well, where again, when I was watching this stuff as a kid, it all seems so natural and kinetic, whereas you see that all the choreography is so well thought out, and the way it twos and fro's from one side to the other, and it is like almost like dancing, really, but
Yeah.
it is so well thought out. And I just, again, I think you see it a little bit more here. I do think this fight scene is a little bit more epic. It is a bit Dragon Ball Z, where he's got the different styles, and like especially when he's going into the whatever it is, the lady style, and he's kind of hitting him with the hips, and it's all just a bit of nonsense. But yeah, I do think it was amazing to watch, really, and you can see why. 1978 would have been a massive year for Jackie Chan, because come off the back of Snake in the Eagle's Shadow straight into this one as well. And for me, I would guess, it's like, is someone a one-hit wonder when they just have one movie? Whereas here he showed a bit more range, but definitely the comedy, and just you couldn't see Bruce Lee allowing himself to do a lot of the things that Jackie Chan's doing here. He took himself a bit more seriously, and so yeah, I think this is the birth of the Jackie Chan that we know now.
Definitely, and this
100%.
definitely influenced a lot of things. Like Dragon Ball Z, we've mentioned that is a direct influence from Drunken Master. A lot of video games like Mortal Kombat. I think there's a character Lei in Tekken, and I think it's Bo Raicho in Mortal Kombat that have the drunken style. I think Bo Raicho even like farts and vomits as well, just to add a bit more disgusting element
Yeah.
to the drunken style as it is. But yeah, absolutely, I can. Yeah, it's Jackie did a sequel to this years later. I think 1994. I think he did a Drunken Master 2, which is a direct sequel to this, and there were other kind of sequels. So the guy who plays the Yuen Wu Ping's dad, who plays, I think it's Yuen Wu Sien, I want to say, is his dad, and he would play this character several times before he died, which he died the year after this in 1979. So he got a few more opportunities to play a similar role again, or have kind of bit parts in other stuff before he passed away. And yeah, he's great. I think I'm still impressed by his choreography. As much as he can do, I'm still really, really impressed. I still couldn't do it. Even at that age, I couldn't do it. Even at this age, I can't do it. So I think he's an incredible talent. And again, I think all the work that's gone into it, and all the performers and the casting crew coming back, and yeah, I think there's definitely an improvement on this one. But we're coming to the end, guys. I'm not going to keep you too long. So now is the time, I think, for comparison. Unless you guys have anything else to say about Drunken Master.
No.
No, I can't wait
Okay.
for this next bit. All the facts.
Here we go. So, comparison. So, as you guys remember, there's 5 categories: writing, acting, music, cinematography, and direction. So, let's lead with Chris. So, which film had the better script, Chris?
The second one. The second one out of the two in, I suppose, timeline. So Drunken Master, I think, had a better story. Even though Jackie Chan's a complete arsehole, I think it just worked a little bit better, I think, for me, even though maybe the story, but I think it's a better story. I do. I think there's a bit of a redemption, even though I think he plays it as a complete dick all the way through. So yes, Drunken Master.
Drunken Master. Dave?
We're again for scripting. I just don't think there's much to either. I do think I'm probably gonna have to lean towards Drunken Master a little bit as well. Ultimately, it's about different styles and pitting different styles against each other. So yeah, I'll go Drunken Master as well.
I would agree with you both. I think it's a bit more unconventional, a bit different. I think the style is different. I think the plot works a little bit less conventionally. I think the first one is like beat by beat, a kind of a hero's journey, the kind of standard thing we would see. He's he's an orphan. He's downtrodden. He learns these amazing powers and becomes really good, and wins out in the end. There's not as much development for the character. There's a lot of characters that are just incidental, come and go. And I feel like a lot more of the characters in Drunken Master have a point and a reason to be there. More so, even if he's not as likable a protagonist, I think overall the plot and the story is is a bit more kind of surprising, let's say, than your kind of standard kind of plot that we get. All right, Dave, this is a big one. Acting.
God. I mean, you could put a
I think we had this problem last time when we did Jean-Claude Van Damme. We were like acting, really?
I mean,
Okay.
it's the same actors, isn't it? So largely a lot of the cast are the same,
Sure.
putting in the same performances. I do think Jackie had a bit more to do in this, in Drunken Master. Again, I thought his auntie acted that role quite well. I mean, his dad was basically a long lost Chuckle brother, I think. So again, I'm gonna try. I didn't think there was much between these two movies at all, but I think just ever so slightly, Drunken Master might sweep it all up. So I'm gonna go Drunken Master again, I think.
Chris.
I'm the same. I think Drunken Master just takes it, and it's literally on a piece of paper, the difference, because I think both fucking scripts are written on a piece of paper about this big, about 1 inch square. But no, I think Drunken Master, because I think the choreography, there's something more to the story. I think they learned from the first one. So in some respects, maybe the first one is the one we should be praising more, because I think Drunken Master was, for me, I will talk about, I'm probably jumping a bit here, Dan, but a better overall movie. But yes, I do think Drunken Master again. So that's 2 for me. Sorry, Dave, we're copying each other now.
That's all right. That's why Dan swaps who goes
swap you
first.
around. I'll swap you around. Don't worry. I've done this before. I've done it a few times now. I kind of have to agree with you both. I think the characters have a bit more for an actor to chew on for the most part. Yeah, and again, I think there's a lot of kind of very stereotypical kind of archetypal characters in the first one. As entertaining as it is, as good as it is, I think there is something about it that it seems a bit staid, or that's been done before, you've seen before, in some way or another. It's a story that's been told again, but I feel like the drunken element adds something to it that's completely unusual, that had probably never been seen before, or had a spotlight put on it in this way. So yeah, I have to agree again. So Chris, next up, music. Now, originally, yeah, I couldn't. I'm struggling to think of the music myself. But originally, Snake and Eagle Shadow had like the music from various Western films, like James Bond and Indiana Jones or something.
I love how they
Star
don't
Wars,
care.
Star Wars. And they didn't give a fuck. So when they're trying to sell it over here in the West, they were like, oh, we're gonna have to change the music. So yeah, there was a lot of music being altered in that one. But yeah, which did you think had the better soundtrack?
I think we'll go with Snake and Eagle Shadow then, just to iron it out. The fact that you've mentioned Star Wars, Dan, that just says it all. And I didn't watch that version, so I need to investigate where that went in. Because if it's like For Your Height Only, it's the greatest James Bond line all the way through it. I just love the fact that they just got permission and went with it every single scene, even when there's like supposed to be real sad scenes. James Bond pops up, doing or whatever it was. Brilliant. So I'm going to give it that one. So it's 2-1 now.
Amazing. Right. What do you think, Dave?
I was going to do the same thing as well. It's been too heavily weighted over to Drunken Master. I couldn't honestly pick out either. They just both seem like stock footage, type music that they've just withdrawn from the archives. So I'll go Snake and the Eagle's Shadow.
Yeah, I think I'll join you, because I couldn't tell you. I couldn't pull out the music as being something that really, it was there. I'm sure it helped and assisted those scenes, but I couldn't like tell you what or do one tune for you for either film. So yeah, again, we'll go Snake and Eagle Shadow. So next up, Dave, is cinematography. So cinematography.
I think this one definitely has to go to Drunken Master. I think, and again, possibly it's biased by the fact that the choreography is better, so it kind of looks more cinematic. But one of the things I've heard, say, Mike Burton talk a lot about is, he hates the quick cuts in action movies, so they make the quick cuts to make it look like that it's all chaotic and there's lots going on. Whereas this, a lot of the time, it's a wide shot. You can see what both martial artists are doing, and so you can appreciate the athleticism and choreography of it more. So, yeah, Drunken Master for me, that one.
Chris?
I want to do like a sort of an X Factor or type situation, or like, I know you may have watched it now, but last night's the other night's Love Island, where everyone voted and it was a 15-way split and it was 7-7 going into the final vote.
Oh, yeah.
What a coincidence!
I know,
But
right?
I can't. I've got to go Drunken Master again.
Yeah,
I'm going to be
fair enough.
boring. I'm with you, Bo. I just think it's just a slight level up on everything across the whole production of the movie. So yeah, Drunken Master.
No, I agree. I think it's again, I think it's like Snake and Eagle Shadow, as good as it is the practice, almost the practice. You know, we'll do the take one, and then what do we learn? How do we do this better? How
Yeah.
do we improve? How do we find a way to do it? You know, I did a fan film years ago, and I agreed to do the next one. It wasn't very good, I'll be honest, but I agreed to do the next one so that, you know, and I'd said, right, let's learn from this, let's do this, let's make sure we do this in future. You know, these are the problems I had with the film, you know, constructive criticism. I didn't end up doing it in the end, and then I did see it, the sequel fan film, and they made all the same mistakes again. I was like, right, glad I wasn't in it then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these guys were honing their craft and getting better each and every time. So yeah, again, got to give it to Drunken Master. Okay, direction. Here we go, Chris. Direction.
Definitely Drunken Master. Definitely the choreography, and I know that's not just about the direction as well, but the whole, like, the fight scenes are so good in this. Like Jackie Chan, his athleticism, the stunt team, they deserve. And I'm not saying it isn't bad, you know, in Snake and Eagle Shadow, but I just think Drunken Master just takes it up a level, and I think that's one thing out of the two movies. Like, you know, that's what got me more than anything. Some of them scenes when he's being a complete bellend and he's like cocky as hell, but just some of the stuff on the table, the dining scenes, everything he's doing, like, it's so clever. So yeah, I've got to give it definitely to Drunken Master by a long way.
Do you see a lot of yourself in that character, the kind of bell end character?
Yes.
So relatable.
I
Just a
can't
relatable
lie
character.
there, Dan. Yeah, I can't. He's a cock as well, but yeah, you're right, just like me. But yeah, better film, better production, everything, definitely.
Go on, Dave. Take us home.
So I'm going to say Drunken Master as well, but for different reasons. I'm going to say the character that we see Jackie Chan in most is the kind of likable character. So to make sure that he gets the direction to be this arsehole, really, consistently through most of the movie. Because like you say, he kind of, even after he gets beaten up, which is supposed to be his pivotal moment, he's still a bit of an arsehole after that as well. So I think for that reason, I'm going to go direction Drunken Master a bit more. But like I say, you're talking, if it was a scale 1 to 100, Snake and Eagle's Shadows, maybe if that's 55, Drunken Masters, maybe a 57 or a 58. And so it's looking like it's very one-sided, but it's just on everything, pretty
only
much
slightly,
it's
yeah.
slightly better all across the board there.
Yeah, again, I can't disagree with that. I'd seen Drunken Master before, and I love Drunken Master. So I think I was coming in with some preference towards it, but I still really, really enjoyed Snake and Eagle Shadow, and I think everything we've said is like there's no shade on, you know, no pun intended.
No
There's no
shadow.
shade on Shadow. But you know, it's still an excellent film, very well choreographed, shot, edited, you name it. It's very fun. You can have a lot of fun with it. And again, you can watch these back to back if you want to do a double bill, and you'd be quite happy with both, I think. But I agree. I think Drunken Master is the superior film, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Again, they've learned, they've grown, they've built on those skills they've already had, and it's just become a stronger film and a more iconic film, just because it's so unique. You know, we've had tiger styles and dragon styles and cat styles and snake styles. You know, we'd never had like a drunken style film, and again, that's why it became so influential. And again, Jackie shot up, and Yuen Ping went on to amazing things as well. Just incredible talent working in the best possible way and delivering some of the classic kung fu Hong Kong cinema that you've always wanted. So yeah, I've really enjoyed watching both of these. So thank you for joining me and comparing that. But Drunken Master is our winner. People may have predicted that, but I don't know. But even I wasn't sure how I was going to fall. But still, two very cracking films. One has to win, but we like them both. I do have some listener comments, guys, before we go, if that's all right, if I can read those. So Derek Esoteric, my biggest fan and my boss at work, who was sat next to me today, he says, Drunken Master, this is just a comment from Mrs. Derek, which was, why does Dan make you watch this nonsense? Her working theory is that you're either blackmailing me or I've joined a cult.
Are you sure you heard that right?
Yeah.
It was cults. Yeah.
Massive cult. Huge cult. Yes, I am all of those things. So I asked on the Discord if people have anything to say about Jackie Chan or Yuen Wu Ping. Mike said, unsurprisingly, he's seen very little Jackie Chan movies, which was surprising for you,
Sacrilege.
Dave. Sacrilege. How dare he? How dare he? He has seen a bunch of Jackie Chan, The Adventures cartoon, which I did see as a kid. He says, if that helps, I love that show. Even subscribed to the magazine to get those little medallions, and they were all based on a different animal, I believe, and they had different powers. But I kind of think if you take Jackie Chan out of the thing, is it really that Jackie Chan? Like if he's not in it, even if he voices it, if he's not in it, doesn't that take something away from a Jackie Chan film and the magic that he does, like punching people while he's leaning backwards? Like it's such incredible balance and core that you wouldn't see in a cartoon.
Yeah, and I bet Mike's brothers, who are a little bit older, I bet they've seen plenty of Jackie Chan movies.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
I haven't really talked about it, but one of the things, I mean, I can take or leave the kind of comedy that he does, but it's the choreography, but it's also the other two things. He really takes a hit a lot of the time as well, and I always think, was it Way of the Fist? I think where Bruce Lee is basically surrounded by a whole school of people, and he's just fucking nails, And if he takes the occasional hit, he's got a little trickle of blood here. It's like,
yeah.
And then he beats everyone up because he's just fucking harder than everyone else.
Yeah.
Whereas Jackie Chan takes lots and lots of hits. So there's that I like, but also the way he makes use of household items. It's so creative to think through, and always using different objects and stuff like that. So those are the things I love about Jackie Chan movies. So Mike, I know you're listening. You need to remedy that and check out some Jackie Chan. But if you want to start with the Western stuff, probably Rush Hour. Maybe we should do that on VHS, Chris.
Yeah, we need to at some point, definitely.
Yeah, I imagine there's a few scenes that haven't aged quite so well with Rush Hour. I imagine. Just off the back of my.
Right. Actually, there's one in particular that I remember.
Yeah. It's like me recalling Lethal Weapon 4. I was like, oh yeah, that's. I remember watching Lethal Weapon 4 at the time when I was a teenager. And went, oh, that's super racist.
Yeah.
Even when I was a teenager back in the early 2000s, I was like, oh shit. Yeah. Now it's probably even worse. But yeah, not so great. But Jack's Musing says Ping is the king and Chan is the man. And then Math controversially makes another comment. He says, now I may be a bit off, but I always think Jackie saw Bruce Lee as a more serious actor and that Chan could bring something a little different. His comedy timing that he tries to do as much as the acting earns himself respect enough. Even if some of his films might not always be the best, he is normally the standout performer in them. He seems to give it all he can, and who knows how many bones he's broken.
A lot.
A lot, yeah.
I watched The Foreigner with Scott. We did British revenge films, and The Foreigner came up, and Jackie's kind of like comes in, does some martial arts, and then pisses off for the rest of the film. Every like half
Sean
an hour.
Connery style.
Yeah, pretty much. He just like comes in, does the martial arts, and then he's out. It's a great film, really good film, and Jackie's brilliant in it. Very serious, very unlike kind of his usual stuff, which was again very interesting. But yeah, I highly recommend that one and the choreography in that. But yeah, I didn't know it was going to go into kind of an IRA type plot thing. I was like, okay, sure. And there's Jackie Chan. So yes, amazing comments. Thank you, everybody. Amazing podcast, amazing guests as usual. But guys, where can people find you on your own podcast?
Well, if you want reality TV, and I know what you're all begging to know who won Love Island last night, who are listening to this as we record it, Dan. CD Reality Cast, Chris and Dave's reality TV cast on all your podcast catching apps. If you're into any sort of reality TV nonsense, then that's what we do, which I blame Dave because he's the one who rang me about it and said, it's his idea. And this is where we are 6 years down the line. But we have another podcast, don't we, David? So where else would you get us?
So more likely it would be the VHS Strikes Back where you'd find us. So we cover all kinds of things. We do cover some kung fu movies as well. In fact, I always think back, before we started the VHS Strikes Back, one of the things that Chris and I discussed was our love of kung fu movies. And we said, we've got these great ones, and I'm going to stitch you up with this. And that was before we'd even recorded episode 1. And it was only through choosing the occasional film we realised, well, actually, our love of the kung fu genre is probably about 10 years or so apart. Because, again, it was probably more having older uncles who used to watch all these things, all of the 70s Hong Kong movies. So that's why I like things like Snake in the Monkey's Shadow. I just fucking love it. The style to it and everything. The dubbing, for me, it adds an extra layer. It just places me in that time, whereas Chris is more, the Lauren Avedon, the early 1990s kind of westernized, No Retreat, No Surrender 3, American Ninja, stuff like that. So they are a little bit separate, but we still love a lot of the same things, but a lot of the different things as well.
Absolutely. I suggested one a little while back for you. Speaking of Bruce Lee, The Dragon Lives Again.
Yeah.
What a great film that was. Chris loved it because it starts with Bruce Lee being in hell with a massive lob on.
Yeah.
There's not wrong with a lob on, Dan. Come on.
It was the same sort of tone of comedy, wasn't it? It's like, Bruce Lee's dead. Oh, but he's got an erection. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. No, it's his nunchucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
It depends where you get the lob on, though.
Yeah.
If you're in public, then you need to watch. But yeah.
Absolute copyright film for like an absolute like nightmare of a copyright film. That one with where he fights the Exorcist, Clint Eastwood, James Bond.
Oh, it's brilliant.
And various others. And it had a line in that which I really enjoyed. It was like, her pussy's in this plot too. It's like, I guess that was it. It was Emmanuel.
Yes.
And that's like, pussy's in this plot too. Right, yeah. The second I learned about it, I heard about it, I was like, I've got to suggest it for these guys. I've got to suggest it. And I've got some ideas coming up. I've got some ideas that I'm sure we can get Chris cancelled. I'm sure if we try hard enough. Thank you again, guys. I will leave all the links and stuff in the show notes. It was great talking about all this. I want to, you can find me at spiderdownandthesecretballs.com and all your favorite podcasting apps. And I just want to thank my patrons on Patreon: Tony Farina, I Am Jack's Musing, Simon Cotton, Paul Meller, Mike Burton, Angry Andy, Tonya Todd, Math, Scott Hodgson, Ria Carrigan, and Sarah Coyne. Thank you for your continuing donations. It's very much appreciated and helps Prattle World keep on turning. And if you ever find yourself in a position to help the podcast, please consider it. If not, consider leaving a review, a comment, or sharing on social media. Thank you again, guys. This has been amazing, and I can't wait to listen to the next VHS Strikes Back as well. I'm not into that reality stuff as much as I'd like to. I used to be, but not so much anymore. Like the only bellends I can stand are just Chris. That's the only bellend I can stand. But I can't deal with the ones on Love Island, I'm afraid.
Well, another tiny plug, but another hint, I guess, is Chris and I will be recording a Roger Corman movie on Saturday. So it'll come out in a couple of weeks. You'll find out about it when the next episode comes out.
Nice. Very excited. Well, me and Mike did some Roger Corman recently, and I've done it before, and I'm sure I'll do him again. And know how much. Could it be a Tony Farina suggestion, perhaps?
It was a Tony Farina suggestion.
Yes.
So yeah,
I know. We shall see. We shall see.
I'm still
what
upset
comes
about
up.
how Mike didn't really jive with Battle Beyond the Stars. Great movie.
I know. I have great fun with it.
Rubbish. Rubbish. Good old Mike. He knows his stuff. Oh, Mike.
I mean, yeah. I still think it's out of the. Maybe I'll suggest Turkish Star Wars for you guys. Maybe that's my next pick.
I was literally looking at, I think it was Indian Superman the other day. I'm not going to suggest that one anytime soon. But
Bollywood, like I wanted to get into Bollywood films. I was like, I've never watched any Bollywood films, and now I realise because they're all about 3 to 4 hours long. You know, Chris's perfect sweet spot, 3 or 4 hours long.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, yeah, I think I'm good. Like, you know, I'm sure they're great films. I'm sure they're very entertaining, but I'm not sure if I can do 3 to 4 hours of them myself personally. But there you go. To each their own. But yeah, thank you again, guys. Thanks for taking the time out to do this. I really do appreciate it. And we'll see you guys soon. And as always, prepare for Prattle.